want to start off this video by saying I don't even know why I'm making it, because more than likely it's going to fall on deaf ears. But I still want to make it because I think it is very important to make a video like this, and hopefully it reaches somebody on the dev team. GS is on a decline, and if you don't believe me, look at this. This is Google Trends right here over the last 5 years. You can see that at the very end, where we're at currently, it has not been this low in a while. If we look at the overall gacha revenue, which this can be taken with a grain of salt because we never get the exact figures, but you can see that the revenue has been bouncing down and bouncing up, and it seems like we can never break through that 1 million that we used to have. If we look at you guys, the people that are watching this video right now, in the community tab, I asked you guys if you play the game, if you're a daily player, if you're talking in Discords, if you're watching the videos, and as you see here, daily players are only 34%. 12% check in weekly, and then half of the people that voted on this isn't indicative of the entire GS community, but we could use it as a bit of a reference, do not play the game. They just log in, or they don't even play at all anymore. If we look at my channel as a whole, we can see that 2 years ago, whenever GS was at one of its peaks with War God Finn's release, Overlord is coming out to global, plus we just got the announcement of the fake characters. You can see that it was peaking at 20k views, which this is unheard of, I will say, for GS content. Usually GS content peaks anywhere from 10 to 15k views, at least when it comes to my stuff. But how are we doing current day? As you see current day, we had relatively the same thing, 10k plus views when it was Fearin', but then as soon as we got to Dan, it just fell off overnight, especially after we all saw what they did with Gigi and Ira. People didn't care. They lost interest and it fell off. I have never seen such a decline in interest for Grand Summoners in the last 5 years. This has not happened before. I was really about to put on my tinfoil hat and said YouTube had to make an update. In reality, I can see it. I've seen the comments. I have seen the people talk about this in my live streams, and people are fed up. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think it's a lot of things that are causing this to happen in the global scene of Grand Summoners and just GS as a whole. Because if Global dies, JP's dead. I know this sounds completely backwards, but it's true. But let's not be a doomer here. Let's actually talk about the problems the game is facing at the current moment. I think all the problems that GS has is easily fixable and should have been fixed since the game has been out for 7 years at this point. And if they don't fix these problems, we all know what will happen. It may not happen in a year, it may not happen in 2 years, but we know that it's inevitably going to come. Let's start in the very beginning. New player onboarding. A new player is very excited to experience all of Grand Summoners, to see all of its events, all of its stories, all of its challenge content, all this type of stuff. But the game does not throw new players a bone. They don't do anything to keep the new players engaged at all. We do have beginner missions, but these beginner missions are absolutely atrocious. They do not do anything for the new players apart from give them crystals and a little bit of guidance on what to do. And at the very end, they get an expert LB stone. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be that guy, but what the fuck is a new player supposed to do with an expert LB stone? Half the time, a new player can't even ascend their unit. A new player doesn't even know how to use an expert LB stone or what to use an expert LB stone on. They don't even tell them, like, hey, maybe you should prioritize somebody that has a really good equip slot at that LB7. They don't do anything like that. This entire thing needs to be overhauled, because the thing that new players lack the most in the very beginning is not crystals, is not expert LBs, it's equipment and units. If this entire system got reworked and made it to where you could get equipment from the new player missions that were replicas or a tiny bit lesser than their gacha counterparts, like I'm talking about your Goku uniforms, your Malim's clothes, all those broken AoE Archgen items. Why do we not have counterparts for that? Or something that's a little bit lesser for new players, so they still have something to use, because new players do not get equipment in the very beginning of the game. There is no way for new peeps to even have equipment unless they start in a crossover and they know to summon on the gacha equip banner. And even then, some of the crossover gacha equip banners are absolutely garbage. Another thing is giving them possibly 2 max elixirs for their ascended characters that they will hopefully get. This will allow them to get a bit of a jump start in the very beginning and make it to where they can use their unit. They have fun, they can play with their character and actually do stuff with them as soon as they get it, instead of having to wait 2 weeks for their unit to be ascended. I still think the AFK mode is great, but it definitely is a bit of a letdown whenever you're a brand new player excited to try out your character and you're like, I gotta wait 2 weeks for this unit to be good because I can't do the in-game mode. Banners. The thing that makes gacha games gachas. The gacha in GS is terrible. The rates are horrendous, the banners are terribly put together, and nothing in this game ever feels generous, rewarding, good. It all just feels like the biggest spit in your face every time you have to go into that summon tab. The best way to go about changing the banners is, for one, rotate out the units. We have hundreds of awoken characters in the gacha pool. Why have we not rotated out some of the very old ones, the ones that aren't useful anymore, and put in some of the old ascended characters into that pool? Units that would actually be somewhat big to pull, especially if you miss them, like your War God Finns, your Kirisames, your Senkis. This doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be able to run them on a banner later on, but it's always nice just to have them in there, because imagine you get spooked and it's War God Finn and you didn't have them. You're gonna freak out. You're gonna be like, oh my god, of course I didn't get the new unit, but I got War God Finn. Another thing, the pity. The pity needs to change in some way or another. It either needs to be lowered or pity needs to carry over. I know some people have talked about pity carryover, and I think that's the best way for them to go about it. Now, the way how pity carryover would work, if you summon on a banner, I think pity would be banner wide. It wouldn't matter what kind of banner it was, it would carry over between everything. So if you did, let's say, 20 summons on a BF Emperor banner, Kill a Kill comes out. You have 20 summons still. You just need to summon 10 times and you can pity Hoka. I don't think this is game breaking. I don't think this is going to hurt the revenue by any means, because the only thing this will do is make it to where, oh, people can just get one unit from the crossover. And a lot of the times with units from crossovers or, units in game or whatever, they're usually not just released by themselves. They're released with other characters. So, and people are going to want the other units. Of course, some people may be like, oh, you can just pity the most broken unit in the game. You could do that if they're out on a banner at that point, but who's to say that you're not going to get other broken characters that you're going to want to use that pity on? There's so many units that were GS releases that I don't see this being a problem if they went with it. Of course, they may say different because they want money and that's all they care about. This would be the simplest fix, and I guarantee you, if you had pity carryover, people would not complain about this gacha nowhere near as bad as they do now. Eventually, you will get something good. That's the whole thing about pity carryover. Eventually, you'll get something that you really want, compared to how it is now, where you will not get anything no matter how long you play the game. Look at this tier list. What do you guys notice? Do you guys notice a constant here? It's not hard to see. All the GS units have been filtered out by never-ending crossover characters getting increasingly stronger with every single patch, translating to the original characters not being able to keep up. It is insane to me that these units, the ones that are limited, the ones that are truly missable in this game, due to the fact that they are crossovers, they are tied to a licensed IP, and we can only have that IP in the game for so long, are the strongest characters in the game. Crossovers in other games are cool events, cool moments in time, that if you were there, you got to experience something that wasn't normal in the game. This wasn't how it's always going to be. This wasn't going to be a thing that you would have to experience, but if you did, it was just a cool moment. Look at Reverse 1999 with Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed crossover, you could tell, was made by Reverse 1999 because they were fans of this crossover and they wanted to put it in the game. They went all out with not only the units but also the event. But you know what they did? They made sure these new units would not, and I repeat, would not replace or filter out the characters that are currently standing in their game right now. Nautica in that game just released, and she's one of the most broken characters. Ezio did not power creep her, even though Ezio technically came out after her. He was still very strong and insanely good, and his entire team is very relevant, but he is not the strongest character in the game. He's just a very good one. The fact that GS cannot take this approach, instead they opt to just do these crossovers, proves the fact that they do not care about their players. This is an overarching problem in the gacha sphere. The dev team does not try to keep the game relevant, they keep the players relevant. Because in order for you to have these new units, to play these different game modes, to access these different challenge fights, you need to have the characters. You need to stay relevant, not the game. Grand Summoners units should be the top of the top. There is no reason that original characters, the ones that you design, the ones that you put in this game, Yama P or whoever comes up with, the writers, whatever it might be, are not the top of the top. And I'm not saying that as a way to be biased. I'm saying that as a way for this game to be in a healthy state. In the Woken era, it was a little bit mitigated because we had Haruto, Thetis, the rest of the Blood Knights, Across the Blaze, all these units that were incredible. But the big difference here is that all of them were GS units, and there were only one, maybe two crossover characters that were considered the best characters in the game. We have completely lost the plot on how unit balancing is supposed to be in Grand Summoners. How is a new player or a person returning to the game supposed to even be interested in playing the game or any future character that comes out when they know that the next big thing for this game is the crossover? I don't want to make it to where crossovers are afterthoughts and units aren't good, but they should definitely have limits. They should be more lore accurate, more true to how they are in the anime. Crossover units should really be the time where you guys can express your creativity and be like, this is how this character would work in the Grand Summoners world. Not, this is how this character should work for the meta. That's all I have to say about this. The thing that made GS so special was the community, the players. That's what made the game so good. And the fact that majority of these people are no longer around. Majority of these people do not play or interact with anything in the game anymore. They have moved on and they won't even waste a second looking back at this game because of all the different decisions they have made. I really do hope that they do implement some of these things or at least consider them. But then again, I highly doubt it. I'm talking from a place of passion right now. And I think at the end of the day, the only thing they truly care about is how to get more money, how to milk the players even more. That's going to be it for this one. Thank you all so much for hanging out. If you enjoyed this video, found it fun, entertaining, or you have some comments of your own, please by all means leave that down below in the comment section. And last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.